I never thought I'd write this, but last night I replayed a voice memo on my phone. A little kid asking me, "Uncle, why is your breakfast always beer?" And I froze at the sink, gripping a broken glass without feeling the cut. That question pulled me out of the longest bender of my life, and it tore my family open. I'm Sam, 29, living in a small suburb outside Columbus, Ohio. I'm an HVAC tech in a second-floor apartment with a tiny balcony overlooking a parking lot and an old maple tree. I've been an alcoholic since I was 13. Sounds ridiculous, but if you grew up in a kitchen with a grown-up section and a kids section in the fridge, you know what I mean. My mom, Sandra, has waited tables at a bar for 2 decades. She's not a bad person, and she's not exactly a drunk, but our house always had cheap beer, vodka in the cabinet, and nights when she'd come home late, drop her purse on a chair, and sigh. Just one drink to take the edge off. My dad left when I was 2. I've only got one sister, Lily, 4 years younger. We grew up with the smell of cleaner, fried wings, and the clink of ice against a shaker. My first beer was at Uncle Barry's backyard barbecue. He handed me a Miller Lite, winked. "A little bit helps a man sleep." I tilted it back. It tasted bitter as hell, but everyone laughed and high-fived me like I'd just joined the adult club. From there, a little bit became a little more. In 8th grade, I stuffed a few cans in my backpack and drank out on the dirt patch behind the baseball field with friends before going home. By 10th grade, I learned to top off the vodka bottle with water so Mom wouldn't notice. By senior year, I could drink enough to forget what I said the night before. I left town briefly for community college in Dayton. I remember those mornings sitting in the back row, smelling like booze, masked with mint gum, eyes half closed. I dropped out after a year. That spring, I moved back and told Mom I'd enroll in HVAC trade school. She hugged me and said, "As long as you're okay, Sam." I wanted to believe she was okay, but the way she set a beer down on the table that night told another story. At trade school, I met Emma. Chestnut hair, gray eyes, the kind of smile that feels like someone flipped a light on. We moved into a 1-bedroom fast. She worked at a small bookstore, and every evening she'd come home, lay out salad, sit across from me. I'd open the fridge and grab a beer. "Just one, okay?" she'd say, as gentle as a hand on a bruise. "Yeah," I'd say, and drink 3. Our conversations often went like that. I was great at apologizing. I apologized after knocking on the wrong apartment door at 2 a.m. because I was drunk. I apologized after my 25th birthday when I threw up in the ficus Emma treated like a child. I apologized after Thanksgiving at Mom's when I shouted over the TV arguing with Uncle Barry just because he said the Bengals didn't stand a chance. I got so good at apologizing that the words felt like an empty can. Light and useless. Lily was different from me. She could eyeball my blood alcohol level. She'd look at me and know how many beers I'd had. She studied accounting, went stable, then married Ethan, a PE teacher with kind eyes and broad shoulders. They had a little girl named June. When June was born, our family got a little son of our own. But that son also lit up the things I didn't want to see. The day I realized something was really wrong was a Saturday morning in April, 2 years ago. Lily left June with me for a few hours to go to a prenatal appointment. Yeah, she was pregnant again. Emma had an early shift at the bookstore, so it was just me and June. I opened the fridge, habit carved like a deer trail in my brain. 1 IPA left. I thought, one can won't hurt. I popped it open. Psst, the hop smell hitting me. June, hair curly and smelling like kids' shampoo, sat in the high chair, banging a plastic spoon. I handed her a banana. She looked at the beer, then at me, and in her 4-year-old lilt asked, "Is beer your breakfast, Uncle?" The whole kitchen went silent. Even the fridge seemed to stop humming. I stared at the can, foam hugging the rim. I could hear the wall clock ticking each second. I couldn't laugh. I set the can down. I grabbed my phone, opened the recorder, and said, "June, can you say that again?" I don't know why. Maybe to punish myself. "Beer is your breakfast," she repeated, then giggled because she thought it was a joke. I forced a smile, but inside it felt like a screw being twisted tighter. That morning, I made June a bottle, rinsed fruit, put on kids, music, and we stacked Lego. My hand still shook. When Lily came back, she looked at my face. "You okay?" I nodded. On the table, the beer sat warm and unfinished. I poured it out. That afternoon, Emma came home and I said, "I think I need to stop." She pressed her lips together like one wrong move would shatter the moment. "Stop what?" "Drinking," I said, fingers tracing the dent on the counter, the scar from dropping a tequila bottle. I called an AA number Emma found on Google. Monday, I walked into a small church at Hine King. Wooden cross on the wall, warm yellow light, chairs in a circle. I sat down, coffee thick in the air, cheap donuts on a folding table. People introduced themselves. "I'm Miguel, 14 days sober." "I'm Karen, 6 months." "I'm Mark, 11 years." I stumbled through mine. "I'm Sam," I said, "and my breakfast is beer." They chuckled in that knowing way. Mark, a tall guy in his 50s with salt and pepper hair and a silver ring, nodded beside me. After the meeting, he handed me his number. "If you want to drink, call me before you drink," he said. "If you already drank, call me after." I nodded, like a student promising to do the homework. I thought the first day would be the hardest. It wasn't. The third night I dreamed I was swimming in a lake of beer, cold and seductive. I woke drenched in sweat, heart hammering. I remembered Mark's words and dialed. 2:41 a.m. He picked up on the third ring. "Sam? I want a drink." "Get out of bed," he said. "Put on shoes. Step out on the balcony. I'll stay on the line till sunrise." We talked about stupid things. His fat cat named Sinatra, the nighttime temperature drop. I listened to his wall clock and the maple leaves rustling outside my balcony. At 5:56, the sky turned slate blue. "You survived the night," he said. "Call again tomorrow if you need." I started counting days. 1, 2, 3, then 7. I taped a calendar to the fridge and circled each day in red. At first, my hands trembled, walking past the alcohol aisle at 7-Eleven. I changed my route home to avoid Mom's bar. I learned to drink sparkling water with a slice of lime, to hear the PSSST without waking the demon. Emma bought a case of LaCroix and a box of chamomile tea. Every night she brewed tea and set it in front of me without a word. Sometimes I'd look into her eyes and see hope and fear braided together, like standing by a river in flood season, wishing it would recede but not daring to step closer. On day 14, I told the group about June's question. People nodded. Karen teared up. Mark patted my shoulder. "Most sober folks have a sentence like that," he said. "If you forget it, you fall. Write it down." I pulled up the recording again. "Is beer your breakfast?" June's voice was a little bell. I set that file as my morning alarm. Lily started to believe me. Slowly, she brought June over more. I took June to the park. I climbed on the play structure with her. We slid down laughing like brand new people not carrying the stink of old booze. Ethan clapped my back. "Proud of you, man." I looked at my hands. Clean, steady, unsoured. Mom was different. She was skeptical. Every time I said, "Still sober," she'd, like she was hearing a radio ad. She'd joke, half snide, "So you're becoming a sparkling water critic now?" I didn't blame her. She'd seen me quit for weeks and slide back. But one night I went to her bar to give her a ride home because her car was in the shop. I sat at the back and ordered a Coke. Blue neon danced on the tabletop. One of Mom's co-workers, a woman named Tasha, set a beer in front of me. "On the house," she said. I shook my head and pushed it back. "Fancy," she smirked. I glanced at Mom. She was mid-banter with a customer, but her eyes flicked to me. I got it. Her pride felt insulted. On the drive home, she cranked the radio. After a while, she said, "You think this makes me proud?" I swallowed. "I just don't want to drink." "I've lived my life in that place," she said. "You think I want my son looking down on where I work?" I kept quiet. At her house, I carried her bags in. She squeezed my hand, then let go. I went home and stared at the ceiling, thinking about the thin line between pride and offense. Month 3, I hit 90 days. Mark hugged me like a dad hugs a son. He told me his 11-year story, starting as a young Navy guy, a divorce, a DUI, and a pair of cuffs, a daughter who didn't speak to him for 5 years. "She forgave me," he said, eyes bright. "Forgiveness is a two-way street. You walk to the middle. Don't demand the other person sprint the rest." I thought about Mom. Then it happened. I call it the white letter. One Thursday afternoon, I found an unmarked envelope in my mailbox. Inside was a copy of a DUI violation notice, stamped by the state police, dated 3 weeks earlier. My name, my address, my license plate. I froze. 3 weeks earlier, I hadn't been drinking. I had an AA meeting. Emma could vouch. I even went jogging in the park after work. I took the paper inside, heart pounding like I'd just climbed 3 flights. I called and showed Emma. She stared for a long time and said softly, "Are you sure?" That sentence cut deep. "You think I'm lying?" "No. I mean, could someone be impersonating you?" I called Mark. He said, "Breathe. Go down to the station and have them check the system." I did. The desk officer typed, squinted at the screen, frowned. "No record," he said. "This looks fake." Who sent it? Why? I thought of old buddies who borrowed and never returned. I thought of Tasha at the bar. I even thought of Uncle Barry. But in my gut, a name bubbled up like carbon dioxide in a soda: Mom. That night I went to Mom's. She was slicing onions in the kitchen. I set the envelope on the counter. She glanced at it, paused. "What's this?" I asked. She said nothing. I saw her hand tremble. Lily walked in with June on her hip. She looked at the envelope, then at Mom. The kitchen shrank with 3 adults and a child. "Did you send it?" I asked again. Mom inhaled, exhaled, wiped her hands on a dish towel. "Yes," she said. One word, glass shattering on tile. "Why?" I asked, voice low. She snorted, but her eyes were wet. "Because my son needs fear to stay sober," she said. "Because I've watched you wreck things, Sam. I've watched you make Emma cry, fall asleep at dinners, puke on someone's lawn, and then you say you've quit. I'm glad, but I don't believe it. I thought if you believed the consequences had arrived, you'd hold on tighter." Lily sucked in a breath. "Mom," she said, then stopped. I looked at Lily. She stared at the floor and whispered, "I'm the one who printed it." I stood there like someone had tapped the back of my skull. "I found a template online and changed the name," she said, tears rolling. "I'm sorry. I was scared June would remember you as the drunk uncle forever." June hugged her mom's neck. "Mommy's crying?" she asked. Lily forced a smile and kissed her forehead. I left Mom's like walking out of a church after a funeral. Heavy, silent, ears ringing. I drove aimlessly around town, over the bridge, past the high school stadium. I pulled into an empty lot, shut off the engine, and stared at my reflection. A voice said, "Drink." Another voice, June's from my alarm, asked, "Is beer your breakfast?" I didn't drink. I called Mark. He came, asked few questions, sat in the passenger seat, and listened. "They made it up to scare me," I said. "They betrayed me." Mark considered and said slowly, "You have a right to be angry. But there's another truth that lives alongside it. You scared them so much they did something stupid." I leaned back. "So I should forgive?" "No one's forcing you," he said. "Forgiveness isn't a blank check, it can come with boundaries." I set boundaries. I told Mom and Lily I needed time without them. I moved the white letter file into a folder titled, "Don't Forget Why." I told Emma I wanted therapy alongside AA. She squeezed my hand and nodded. I found a therapist, Dr. Harris, a woman in her 40s with lake-calm eyes. She helped me zoom out and see the whole picture. A family marinated in alcohol so long we mistook the smell for normal. In therapy, I remembered evenings when Mom came home half smelling of fabric softener and half of someone's spilled whiskey. I remembered her counting tip money, one crumpled bill at a time, dropping it into a mason jar labeled Lily's tuition. I remembered her sitting on the kitchen floor with me, eating cold pizza and saying, "Life isn't fair, kiddo, but we can try to make it less unfair." She loved me the way she knew how. Sometimes that love hurt. I didn't speak to Mom and Lily for 6 weeks. In week 7, Lily called. "You okay?" "Yeah." "I'm sorry again," she said. "June, she asks every day when she can see you." I was quiet. "Maybe," I said, "day 120. "What?" "My day 120 of sobriety. At the park. Just you and June, not Mom." The sky was clear that day. Sunlight poured like honey. I brought sparkling water, some apples, a kite. When Lily and June arrived, June sprinted over and hugged my leg. "Uncle," she squealed. I lifted her up. "What's your breakfast today?" she asked. I grinned. "Toast and peanut butter." She nodded like I'd given a sacred answer. We flew the kite. She shrieked with joy. It trembled against the blue like a small arm waving at the future. In the afternoon, Lily and I sat on a bench. "Mom wants to apologize," she said, "but her pride—" I bit my lip. "Just so you know," she continued, "before we made that letter, Mom tried everything. She spent breaks at the bar watching the door in case you walked in, told coworkers not to serve you. She secretly marked bottles at the grocery store to see if you were buying them. I know it all sounds nuts. We didn't know what else to do." I looked at Lily. "You could have said it straight." "We did," she said, "but back then you weren't listening." Those words felt like stones added to my pockets. I went home feeling lighter, in a heavy kind of way. That night, I went to Mom's. She opened the door and froze. Her kitchen was the same. Red dish towel on the oven handle, apron with a permanent grease stain. She swallowed. "My son," she said. I nodded. "I can't forgive the person who mailed a fake letter," I said, "but I want to forgive the mother who panicked." She covered her face and cried like a valve opening. I stood there a long time, then hugged her. Her shoulders shook. "I'm sorry," she said, "and thank you for coming anyway." A week later, Mark met me at a coffee shop and slid a small brown-wrapped box across the table. "A little something for day 150, he said. Inside was a round keychain etched, "Call before you drink." I laughed. "You're old school." He sipped his coffee. "Old school lasts." Then he got serious. "I should tell you something. The person who asked me to keep an eye on you that first night was your mom." I looked up. "She called from the bar's phone, told me about you, asked if I'd sponsor you. I told her I don't take guys because their families ask. But when you walked in, I recognized you, and I thought you needed someone who wouldn't judge the history." I sat still, listening to the coffee machine hiss. Bittersweet warmth spread, like a hot espresso in my hands. "Thanks," I said. "Guess you did good." "You did good," he said. That fall, Emma and I moved to a brighter 2-bedroom with a hospital plant in the window. Emma's name. I call it a pothos. I kept AA, kept journaling. I noted days, feelings, even the times I stared too long at the liquor aisle. I don't romanticize sobriety. Some days I hate it. Being sober means facing bills. A broken compressor screech. Missed calls from a cranky customer. Email from the boss. But it also means I remember those afternoons when the sky looks freshly washed after rain. The smell of Emma's mint shampoo and how "Is beer your breakfast?" became a memory. not a prophecy. Then another twist. Emma got pregnant. I found out on a Monday morning when she set a 2-line test next to her tea. I shook, not from craving, but because the future suddenly blazed bright. I called Mark. "Congrats," he said. "Now you've got another reason." I called Lily. She screamed. June yelled along like they'd won the lottery. I didn't call Mom right away. That night she called me first. "Emma told me," she said. "I'm happy for you, Sam." "Thanks," she hesitated. "I won't send any more letters," she said, and we both laughed. The day Emma went into labor was my 1-year sober mark. I clipped the call before you drink keychain to my keys and walked into L&D with a bag of snacks, sparkling water, gummy bears. I breathed with Emma, counted with her, let her crush my hand purple. When the first cry filled the room, I thought about the 13-year-old me chugging Miller Lite in a backyard, about me 2 years ago gripping a broken glass at the sink, about the white letter, about Mark, Mom, Lily, and June. I thought about how one sentence from a child can yank the wheel of an entire life. I'm writing this now from our living room while my son, Noah, naps, his hands twitching like he's running in his dreams. Emma's in the bedroom, hair a mess, mouth slightly open. I still have the recording. "Is beer your breakfast?" I haven't deleted it. I also haven't forgiven the white letter completely. My family is stitching itself back up. Slow, careful stitches. Sometimes the fabric pulls tight. Sometimes we loosen it. I'm letting myself feel grateful and angry at once. 2 strings on the same kite. And here's where I need advice. Was I wrong to cut off my mom and Lily for weeks over the white letter? Now that things are better, what boundaries should I set to protect my sobriety without pushing them away? Should I delete June's recording to move forward? Or keep it as an anchor? What should I do next?